president for gold.
Well, that was embarrassing. Sorry,
No, it's
carry
all
on.
good.
I didn't know that was gonna come on and interrupt us.
No, it's
Yeah,
all
go on.
good.
You were saying,
But yeah, my cousins, they both went to Stanford. Actually, one of them went to Stanford undergrad and graduate, and then one went to University of Michigan, and then she went to Stanford graduate or to graduate school out there. And Adriana, she became a VP with Goldman Sachs. And then Miranda, she actually went to London, which is where she met Craig, her husband. I think they met at one of the big accounting firms. I don't know if it was PwC or maybe
yeah, that's
KPMG or
big.
maybe
Yeah.
one of them. Yeah, but yeah, they've been over there forever, and he's a Muir. And that last name, that Scottish last name, ties into a lot of these histories we talk about when we
What's
talk
the
about
last name?
Muir, Muir.
Oh, right, right. I thought you said Amer, like the Arabic
No, no,
Amer.
no. That's my
No,
son's middle name is Amir.
oh, wow. I wonder. That's interesting. I wonder if there's a connection. I wouldn't be surprised these days now.
I think so. Muir. I mean, I see it so much, and then I'm sure you're familiar with the histories that David McRitchie presented on the
I've
ancient
yet to
writings.
get that
So,
book. I need to get
really,
that book. I have a PDF online version of it, but that's quite hard to navigate. I also like to have my stuff um in hard copy because you never know, they can
yeah,
take these things off you.
and switch them up.
So oh wow. Okay, so have you read that?
So I've like I haven't read it cover to cover like most books that I like,
Yeah, yeah.
but I've gotten PDF versions and I've gone through it and taken what I've needed out of it. It's very, very interesting. It's very
Mm,
interesting because it also ties into something that I think will become a little more popular going forward is the connection between the Aboriginals of North America
mm-hmm,
and the people of the British Isles. Because
mm,
I just based on just kind of breezing through it, all the information that's presented by David McRitchie and a few others, and just kind of cross referencing, it seems that arc, from the British Isles over to Greenland and down into North America, seems to have some type of cultural continuity. And the Icelandic people, people from Iceland are finding Native American genes, haplogroups in some of their tests because they say that the Vikings were the first white folks to come over, and they took some Native Americans back. And so they say that
mm.
they're in Ireland too. I think it happened in Ireland. Some folks up there were, taking DNA tests and they were coming back this way. But there's it's a language. Which language is it? I believe it's which Algonquian language is it? Goodness, I want to say it's the OG. Well, no, is it? Don't quote me on live, but
Mm, mm,
I
mm, mm,
forgot
mm.
which one it is. But it's very similar to the Gaelic languages. Like
Right,
McAdoo means
right, right.
is a son of the black one or the son of black in Gaelic. And McAdoo is actually a common name here for black people. I've never met a McAdoo that wasn't black. One of my good friends growing up, he's they're the grandsons of a famous Harlem Globetrotter named Geese Osby, who's from Oklahoma, who's from that, the Indian Territory, but their last name is McAdoo. And I know that in this particular, I think it's Ojibwe, Macadouis means black one or black.
Wow.
So it's very interesting, very interesting.
But they will tell you, bro, they will tell you that that refers to hair. That used to work on me though. That used to work on me. I don't know why. I used to think I just don't believe that anymore at all in any circumstance.
Nah, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, people hair has never been that important, and to name, to for people to be the only time hair, and it's so funny that the only time anywhere in the world that you can find hair being associated with an ethnicity or a people is when it's us.
Mm.
I got some crazy stuff right now. I mean, I might as well share it. Let me just
Yeah,
grab
yeah,
it.
that's good.
It's a
This
funny
is
that you
good.
segued into that. Let me see, share screen. And the one I want to go to is, let's
You
see,
put us to the side here.
Microsoft. Here it
Right,
is.
press one in the chat if you can hear us, guys. Let me know if you can hear us. If we're not just speaking to ourselves. They were supposed to start at 9 UK time, but just a few setbacks here. This is all a real life operation. This isn't AI or anything like that. So things happen. But if you're here with us now, you're here with us now. That's all that matters. So I've got a guest with me. I probably should introduce him properly. Um, he's not he's not someone that he's not a typical guest, so to speak. He's actually one of you, family. He's just a listener. I say just, but you guys aren't just anything. You're why this is fun. You're why this matters at all. But I don't know, what do I call you? Because you have different names on different platforms.
Got to keep them guessing, brother. Got to keep them guessing. That's for the folk carts out there. Who anybody wants to act like Jock Folkart, think they can beat us at it. But I just like whatever you see on the screen. So I was thinking about changing it for the presentation. But I said no. This is kind of like what most people know me by. This is what I go by on Facebook. So Elikata, L is good.
Ella Carter, right? Good, good. Is that even on? Let me make. I don't. What have I done with my settings here? Let me make sure our names are visible. Okay, I can see what you're presenting in stage. So Ella Carter, the brother Ella Carter, has joined us, and last about a fortnight ago, he was known as Garnet Freeman, and I was just chopping it up, talking to someone that was familiar to a lot of us, brother London, about the indigeneity of black people to the Americas. That sounds wild. That sounds crazy, right? But just slow down. Just slow down and breathe as you consider this. I never would have thought I'd be looking into something like this, but the more you dig, the more you find that actually all bets are off in terms of the length to which black history and black prominence has been suppressed. So let me give you an example. If you're in right now if you're watching, um, please hit the like button, um, and comment. Let me know you can hear us. One or yeah, just hit one or just let me know you can hear us. But let me put it this way. Um, in North Africa right now, you have a situation whereby black people are told they didn't exist in Africa. Now, you might believe that. You might be tempted to just believe that because when you look at North Africa today, the dominant ethnicity, the dominant look, the dominant type of person that lives there is white presenting or white adjacent. They pretty much don't get annoyed when they're mistaking for Spaniards or Southern Europeans. They only get wound up politically if someone black or African, stereotypically African, is representing them either in a movie or in some form of popular media. Then all of a sudden, um, even though there are, even today, even though they be a minority, There are black people in places like Morocco, indigenous, still living there, national, uh, citizens of that country, countries like Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia. You'll still get, um, while simultaneously they will say they're not racist, you'll still get these uh, modern North Africans screaming that that's not representative of us, blah, blah, blah. The only that's my burner going off. I need to turn that off, right? Um, right. I'll be. This live might have to be cut short, guys, because I've got some stuff I need to sort out. Like I said, this isn't AI. This is real people doing real stuff. So we've got family issues and stuff. So it might not be as long tonight as I want it to be. But anyway, I'll go on. Now, you'd be tempted to believe all of that if you look at the state of North Africa today and you think, yeah, it was kind of the people that live there or the people that have always lived there. But what they don't teach us in school is critical thinking. And you only have to do a bit of critical thinking before you start asking yourself, how can a whole 1/3 of a continent not be inhabited by people who otherwise dominate the continent ever in history? How? When you start asking questions like that and you start letting your curiosity take you where it takes you, you start to dig and you start to find um, historical documents that document not just the presence of black people, but in these places in North Africa, but the prevalence and the dominance of said black people. Not many people know this, and I've had arguments with people about this. Marrakesh is not named after God or something like that. It's actually named after the sons of Cush. The earliest record um, detailing the etymology of that word talks about the city of the sons of Cush. And as far back as you go, that has always referred to black Africans, Cush. Biblically speaking, the Cushites are interchangeable with the Ethiopians, which the Greeks knew as the burnt faced ones. So Marrakesh was named after black people, just like much of the rest of Africa. And we're not, relatively speaking, we're not talking that very long ago. Um, Lots and lots of locales all across North Africa. It was a given for thousands of years that black people live in these spaces. Now, something happened. Same thing that happens across the world. Conquest takes place. I have no problem with conquest. I have no problem with losing wars and demographics changing place, changing hands, changing, just demographics changing. What I do have a problem with is psychopathic babbling and denial, psychopathic, sociopathic erasure of a people's history and culture. So, what will happen is now you're told that black people never inhabited these places, let alone even dominated these places. They were only there as slaves. You can transpose this logic anywhere in the world. As long as you let enough time pass, what will happen is indigenous black presence. Let enough time pass, indigenous black presence will later on be characterized as never having existed and something that is only recent, and only recent because blacks were transferred there. Again, read the ancient accounts. The Egyptians were described by people, foreigners coming into Egypt, as black skinned, kinky haired, thick lipped. I'm not making this up. I've done the quotes ad nauseum. These aren't fake. You can't fake these descriptions. You can't mess around statistically with results that you genetic testing. You can't mess around with the interpretation of genetic testing. You can't mess around with these quotes as you can with genetic testing. People don't know that happens a lot with genetic testing. The public are still quite green with their approach to genetic testing. They take it as gospel. You can't mess around with set in stone quotes, eyewitness accounts of these ancient peoples. But let me explain this to you further to add insult to injury. This kind of erasure is still happening today. Presently, you have a population that is near under 2% of an to call them an ethnic minority is an understatement. They're non-existent, almost non-existent. They are called Azawad or something. They're in Mali. And what the international elites, the scumbags that rule the world, invariably, sorry to say, tend to be Caucasian. What they're presently trying to do is use this less than 2% ethnic minority to worm their way back into the politics of Mali and claim that this less than 2% ethnic minority is being persecuted by the Mali government. And therefore, we need to all support this less than 2% ethnic minority and their terroristic leaders who are publicly affiliated with Al Qaeda. We need to support them and overthrow the Mali government, which right now is in league with the government in Niger and Burkina Faso, and are determined not to allow Western influence to run corporations in their country that do not benefit the people. And they're determined to keep out these Western parasitic corporations. And therefore, we have to now back these ethnic groups that are so put down. And we have to back them and make sure that they are given more than half of Mali. If you look at the plans that the French government has drawn up, because Mali is part of Francophone Africa, France used to own Mali, sadly. France is are the gatekeepers there of Mali. So if you look at the proposals that France have put forward for the Azawad people's kind of liberation in Mali, the proposals, shout out to Nefakare T. Dessines, a channel I really love and I check him out regularly. As explained by him, the map, the part of Mali that's been carved out to be given to this less than 2% population is more than Mali. More than half of Mali, the territory of Mali. And invariably, this 2%, how do I say this? How do I put this? Go on Google what this ethnic group that is about to be given more than half of Mali look like. They're foreigners. They're white-skinned foreigners who need layers and layers and layers of uh blankets to sheets to cover their face and keep them protected from skin cancer under the African sun. They're just white adjacent. And very soon, somebody made a point in one of my posts today. They made a comment and they said, very soon, he said, actually, I think he said something like 1,000 years from now, much sooner than that, 100 years from now, if the French are successful, if this evil cabal is successful, we will be talking about Mali as a place. We will be talking about the empires, the great West African empires of Mali, the Songhai Empire, the Ghana Empire, the Mandinkas, Mansa Musa, the richest man to ever live, at least within um, documented history outside of the scriptures. The scriptures speak of Solomon as the richest king to ever live. But outside of those scriptures, Mansa Musa will be told as a public in a few years' time, if the French get their way, that he was a white Arab, represented by the 2% population that have now become 20%, 30%. Look at what's look at what's already happened in Mauritania. Mauritania used to be dominated by a group known as the Haratin. They were not a slave class. They've been made a slave class. And the name Haratin, which no one knows properly its etymology, has become synonymous with slaves and slavery. But it does not, I've looked into this, it did not originally mean slave. Arabs now like to claim it does, but They are the original inhabitants of Mauritania. They were documented by the Romans, sometimes called Garamantes Ethiops. Um, but these people were the original inhabitants of Mauritania. They are now, despite still being the majority ethnic bloc in that country, they are now a slave underclass and their numbers are being dwindled day by day due to poverty, extreme suppression and subjugation. And it will very soon be said that these people were never really indigenous to that region. They weren't the ones the Romans were speaking about when they wrote ad nauseum about the black gadamantes, black hands that are capable of giving you a good scare at nighttime should you bump into them. No, no, no. We really were speaking about light skinned. So when the Moors were being spoken of and written about constantly about the blackness of their skin, about how scary they looked, no. What we are to believe is that we were really the Europeans, many of which were already Mediterranean and olive skinned and quite dark in terms of as far as Europeans go anyway, were writing about how black people who were half, if that, a shade darker than them, they were writing about how black these people were. And they weren't really writing about black people, actual black people. No, they were writing about people who were maybe a decimal darker than them. And that's really what they were talking about. Anyway, if you believe that, good for you. Good for you. Um, Tell us you're a sicko racist weirdo without actually telling us you're a sicko racist weirdo. Anyway, if that is what is done on the continent of Africa, if that is what is in the process of happening right now, even as we speak in the Sudan, across Africa, look at South Africa. They would have done that, and they're still in the process of doing that in South Africa. People saying, oh, well, there was nobody living here, so therefore we're the real Africans. If that is what they can do on the continent of Africa, guys, open your eyes, open your mind. Blacks are, sorry to say, the indigenous people, not sorry to say, of this planet. Everywhere the explorers went, everywhere the conquistadors went, they were writing, oh my bloody goodness, we are seeing black people. Thank you, Craig. Papua New Guinea. We are seeing black people in the Pacific. We're seeing black people in Hawaii. Not the mixed, sorry again to say, but not the mixed type, the version that's been mixed with Japanese immigrants and Chinese immigrants and Indians and white Europeans. No, we are seeing black people with kinky hair. They damn well look like Africans. Australia, they met black people. Andaman Islands, they met black people. Guys, why not the Americas? Why not the Americas? What, is there some magic bubble around America? We found the documents. I've read the documents. I've done a two-part where I read the accounts, the witness accounts, eyewitness accounts. They weren't Afrocentrists. They were saying there are black people here. We don't know how they got here. We can speculate, but there are black populations here. Moors, Ethiopians. So I was speaking about this with London a few weeks back, and it just got really, really weird because you had this guy in the chat, went by the name of Garnet Freeman, and he just kept dropping gems, literal gems, because he was dropping super chats. The guy was dropping treasures. So it was dropping super chats, and eventually, it wasn't just a case of super chats. This guy was also dropping knowledge. So I said, look, brother, come on. And it got really, really intense. He was showing images. Go back to that live under the live tab on my channel and, enjoy what you see there. It was an amazing evening. Let's hope we have the same thing tonight. So that's the background. Garnet Freeman came on that night. He's also known as El Akata Uno, and he was just showing us reels and picture after picture after picture of people who you could only describe as black people. In any other context, you'd call them Africans, but here they were on Mesoamerican artwork, and you couldn't explain why the people there looked like this. I'm talking people with afros. I hope he's got that ready for us tonight to show us. So, anyway, right, that's the background. Elakata Uno, over to you. Let me put you back on.
Peace, brother. Can you hear me clearly?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, good deal. Now I shared a. I want to hurry up before because I know everybody's attention span and memory bank is a little short these days with the 24-hour news cycles that we go through. Shorter than that now because of social media. But you mentioned. I said he's going to say something about Mauritania. You mentioned Mauritania. Can you see what I'm sharing?
Right, let me put it up. Sorry about that.
No, you're
Okay, here we
fine.
go. Yeah, I can.
You see
I
that?
can see it. Press
Okay,
one
good.
in the chat if you can see that on the screen.
Excuse me.
Yeah, go on.
Okay. So just really quickly, this is a PDF of the minutes from a congressional session of the House of Representatives in what January 3rd, 1845. Uh, a man by the name of Representative Charles Gerald Ingersoll. He was addressing the House of Representatives regarding a discussion that was going on about the annexation of the territory of Tejas or Texas, which is where I actually live. But just to kind of let you know and frame it up to let you know that these people understood what was going on, if you just follow me.
Hmm.
The stupendous deserts between the Nueces and the Bravo, the Rio Grande or Del Norte rivers, are the natural boundaries between the Anglo Saxon and the Mauritanian races. There ends the Valley of the West. There Mexico begins. Thence, beyond the Bravo, which is a river, begin the Moorish people and their Indian associates to whom Mexico properly belongs. So, anybody, I'm not going to just read the whole thing, but that was a quote from a white House of, congressman here in the
Can I
States
read
back
that
in
again? Can I
1845.
read
Go
that?
ahead.
Can I read
Go
that
ahead.
again? Because I need to. I'm a bit slow, so I need to take that in.
Mhm.
The stupendous deserts between the Nueces and the Bravo, the Rio Grande or Del Norte rivers, are the natural boundaries between the Anglo-Saxon and the Mauritanian races. There ends the Valley of the West. There Mexico begins. Thence beyond the Bravo begin the Moorish people and their Indian associates to whom Mexico properly belongs. Okay. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I just wasn't sure that that's what that said. So yeah, that is what that says.
Yeah.
And what's
Yeah.
this from?
This is, excuse me again, this is, let me go back to it. This is basically the minutes of a, make sure I saw it on page. So when so during the Mexican War,
Mm,
Congress was talking about I thought they said Garnett up there. uh, so Congress they were debating about the geopolitics at the time, right? And one of the major issues was the annexation of the territories of old Mexico, which is the Southwest United States and the Western United States. So Texas is very important because it was used to be a part of New Spain, right? It was a territory of New Spain. Then it was a territory in what became Mexico after Mexican independence from Spain. And then after the Mexican American War, the United States was, just talking about the ins and outs of annexing that particular territory. And that particular representative, that was his diatribe. That's what he got up and said. Just making everybody understand, frame this up like, hey, this is a racial uh there's a racial dynamic that undergirds all of this, basically, is what he was saying. And he made it plain about which races he was talking about: the Anglo-Saxon being them, white America, and then of course the Mauritanian and Moorish races. And he made sure to juxtapose them, or make sure that you understood that the Indian associates were different. So I just wanted to kind of briefly bring that up. I
That's
brought that up, and once you said that about Mauritania, about the Hurricane, I just wanted to also, speak about that real quick.
thank you, thank you.
No issues. Let me see. I want to share, since we're talking about Mexico, I think it's important. Excuse me. Let me get to what I want to share for you. The white man's Indian. Is this the right one? Let's see. Okay. So the issue of, let me get to the right one so you can share it. I think I can just, okay, I see. I'm still
So,
learning this. I just want to
yeah,
make sure
yeah, yeah. Let me
I
read
got you.
it out.
Share this tab instead.
Brilliant. Okay.
So if you look at this, I just saved this. This is a screenshot of the cover of a book. Authors are here above: Nancy L. Kelker and Karen O. Bruns. And the title speaks for itself: Faking Ancient Mesoamerica. And basically, what this is talking about is the over 100-year-old problem that has gone on in Mexico with the faking of artifacts and presenting of a certain type of artifact as representative of being ancient Mexico. It's a really big problem, and it's an old problem. So let me just show you how old. Where are we? Make sure I get the right one for you. Black Indians, Michoacan.
Judy White says 1848 Treaty of Guadalupe. Can you elaborate, Judy White? Thank you for that.
Yeah, I think that was the results that ended up being a result of the Mexican American War, if I'm not
Mm,
mistaken.
mm, mm,
Uh, that was the treaty that was signed that basically gave all of the western, what is today the western and southwestern United States, over to the United States, basically.
mm.
Now I'm sharing another one. Uh, Fake Mexican Antiquities by Leopoldo Batres in 1910. Look at that. This is in 1910. They were already having this discussion about fake Mexican antiquities. Now, Leopoldo Batres, he was basically like the father of Mexican archaeology, right? And this is just a book. If you guys want to go to this, I just wanted to share it. You can go to it and actually get the PDF if you speak Spanish. But today, I mean, AI will translate everything. But we often hear about Brigido Lara, who was the guy in the 70s who got arrested for creating over 40,000 fakes, right? And then he got out of jail and he went to work for the basically the archaeology department of the country of Mexico, like the Ministry of Archaeology, right? Look it up, Brigadier Lauder. Now, most people are just becoming privy to this, and so they're like, "Oh, that's just one example. That's 40,000 artifacts out of a whole country. This is old. You got to look up guys like the Hermanos Barrios. Like these, Mexico has been creating a fake version of its ancient past for a long time. I just want to make I don't want to go too deep into this, but this is just stuff you can look up. It's just easy to understand. This is not something new, right? Now, let me pull this one up. And you feel free to stop me and ask me any question you need
And
to.
invariably, thank you for that. Invariably, the artifacts that they are faking are presenting images or sculptures of people that look. So I mean that document spoke of Moorish and Indians. So I'm guessing what they're doing is overproducing fakes that represent the Indian type of
Exactly.
indigenous inhabitant. to the exclusion of the so-called Moorish type. So, what are they doing with the Moorish type artifacts, the genuine artifacts now of um Moorish quote unquote peoples who lived in these areas? What are they doing? Because I can't imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, what are they doing with those?
So basically, it's an ever developing story. In my opinion, to that question is that they basically just keep all of the real stuff in the regional museums and the local museums,
Mm,
because when I'm on, like, you can go, if you've ever been to Mexico, anybody who's ever been to Mexico, you know that the stuff in Mexico City that you see in the big museums of Mexico City, it's a completely different vibe than the local museums and the little pueblos and the different southern Mexican, those areas of the Tehuantepec, the Isthmus of Tehuantepec that we were talking about last time. In Veracruz, when you go to these local museums, you see the real people, right? But let me just kind of find.
and whilst you do that, bro, I'm gonna say that rings a bell because when I was looking into the Olmecs, it struck me as odd that there's this very famous statue, Olmec statue, and it's lying on the ground on its stomach, and it's called El Negro, and the face is shooting outwards, and people find it very hard to look at that statue and not say, "Huh, that's a black guy." He's got he's got a high hairline. Thank you. There we go. That's how it looked. Now that statue is undeniably a quote African man. Um, but really he's an Olmec. Now they can't explain that statue. I'm pretty
They say it's a howler monkey.
they say it's a monkey.
And so I had to juxtapose it, and I said, dude, howler monkeys. If you haven't seen a howler, and what's funny is that a lot of the people who are on the other side of this debate, it's literally everybody. It's white folks, Arabs, and Latinos who usually like team up against us on this, because the Arabs say that they're the Egyptians, and then you hear the Latinos saying y'all aren't the Egyptians were
Mm,
Arab, and then they go back and forth, kind of helping each other out, but kind of complimentary. But they all say, and it comes from the scholars, it comes from academia. Number one, they say that the El Negro is representing a howler monkey, and I was like, dude, have you ever seen a howler monkey? Howler monkeys don't have lips, they don't have noses, they basically have a snout, they don't have cheekbones. Okay, I was like, I mean, I just had to
it's
do it.
incredible.
Yeah, and I'm just like, and it's so funny. Ed Barnhart, who's a well-known archaeologist, American archaeologist, he did a video last week about the Olmec, and I just tuned in because it was live, and I was driving. I said, okay, I want to hear. I said, let me see what he's gonna say.
Big chubby white guy with a bit facial hair.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I was like, maybe he'll be objective, but of course he wasn't, and it's a howler monkey. I was like, okay, all right, it's the
Just
same
yeah,
old
just switched
story.
off. Just switched off. They're the worst types because people tune into them thinking that they are unbiased sort of thing. They're the worst types because they are the most deeply psychopathic type racist because I say that because they have knowledge
Right.
and access to things the public don't. But the fact that they have that access, the fact that they can see the things they see, the records they see, and still come out to the public and present something completely different is shows me that these people, I will do it with a smile on their face, with a sort of, I'm
Yeah.
this unbiased, uh, neither here nor there arbiter of the truth. That to me is unforgivable. That to me is
Yeah.
unforgivable. Now, the point I was going to make about El Negro is that, like you said, they put these. But oh, please keep that one up on the screen that you
Oh
just
yeah.
had because I whatever point you were going to make about that, please make it. But I just want to say they keep El Negro. You would think that this ancient statue, whatever you think about how it presents and how it looks and who it represents, you would think they keep this secluded away and looked after, well maintained. They leave this thing near just outside. And what you find is now when you look at it, after years and years of being just neglected and outside there, it's weathered to the point where it's going to be in another few years, you won't be able to tell what you're looking at. I have only found that tendency with performed with artifacts like El Negro across European antiquities, North African antiquities, wherever you see, however beautifully carved, made, or done artifacts that show people like us who they suppose shouldn't be in certain locales, the neglect is off the charts with those artifacts. They neglect to maintain them, they neglect to keep them. And I believe that is so that within time, again, let enough time pass, it can then, those artifacts will then fall in the realm of conspiracy theory. It will then be only people like us who'll be saying, no, 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 that's not how that looked. We'll sound crazy. We'll be saying to our kids, oh, that statue is you need to go into the archives and look at what that statue really looked like. And people won't do
Right.
that. They'll just say, well, oh, these old Afrocentrists, they've always been around. They've always been around.
Yeah.
There's no other reason as, as for me
Hmm.
why there's so much neglect. Any other artifact, any other statue, Julius Caesar, whatever, Alexander the Great, they treat these things like idols. They preserve them. You can't even go into the Louvre. Is it the Louvre? But you can't go into certain museums and take pictures of
Right.
paintings because apparently the light will cause this and that. They leave these things in contrast out in the open, on it, like to be rained on for the sun to batter it. It is it's incredible.
Yeah, I think it.
We're dealing with some sick people. Sorry,
Yeah.
go on.
No, I was gonna say that a lot of the times, if because I like when I'm listening at work and stuff, I'll be listening to YouTube and stuff like that, and it's so funny that they probably want to be able to say, hey, the reason it's so dark is because it's weathered. Like I hear that a lot, even in Spanish
Mm,
language presentations. You hear, and it's so funny, it's because up until relatively recently, the Hispanics, the Hispanics, the Latinos, people from Latin America who were interested in archaeology and the ancient histories of Mesoamerica and beyond, they really didn't have a lexicon talking about, the Afrocentrics, and this is something that's just becoming like widespread relatively recently. Before that, a lot of these folks, they told the truth. So this is why a lot of the older um, quotes that you'll and excerpts that you'll hear about the Olmecs being Ethiopian are Mexicans. Like it wasn't black people who started that. That was like the descendant, white folks in Mexico and Mexicans in general. Like I told you last time, the great grandson of Vicente Guerrero was Nicholas Leon, whatever his last name was, Nicholas Leon
mm.
Guerrero, I think. But he was Mexican. He wasn't a black American. He wasn't somebody who was an Afrocentrist in that context. But they were just saying what they saw. And so again, I mentioned Leopoldo Batres. He's the father of Mexican archaeology, and he just told the truth. This is the father of Mexican archaeology, and he is most well known not for an Olmec finding or a tomb of an Aztec emperor. He's most well known for his critique and his calling out of the fakes that were
What's his
going
name
on.
again? Say his name again.
Leopoldo, let me just pull it up again. Leopoldo Batres. I just had, hold on.
That's cool. That's cool. I've come across that name again. I just want people to be able to Google that if they want to.
That's his name right here, Leopoldo Batres.
Yeah.
And you can see that, just look him up. And I mean, it's just a whole, it's a, wait, hold on. There it is. Leopoldo Batres, highlighted right there.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Now let me go back to this. Now this, speaking of Brigido Lara, he's the most well known person in terms of the fake artifacts, right? But he's not the only one. I just told you about the Barrios brothers who were responsible for a lot of the stuff that you see today that's held as, uh, you know, the idea of ancient Mexico, Mesoamerica. Now this is a total. This is from what they call the Remojadas culture of Veracruz, and this is the Olmec area, right? This is the area where all the black people are, most concentrated today as well.
Mm.
Now, Brigido Lara and a lot of the people, they were focusing on those populations in that area in terms of the 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 style of ancient artifact, real ancient artifact that they were going to try to counter with the stuff that they were fabricating. And so you get pictures like this, and I mean, this is obviously a woman. It looks like a woman to me. It could be a young man or something, but that's someone that looks like us. Look at, I mean, the hair is obvious, right?
The hair is a dead giveaway.
Right.
Dead giveaway.
Right. And so also now this nose, a lot of times people try to use this nose to say, hey, black people don't have this nose. But if you talk about um, black people, the Mauritanians, it's so funny. There's there's an actor who's been in a lot of American films. Muhammad Achi, I think his name is. You can look him up. Atchie, I believe. He's the son of a Mauritanian diplomat, and so he grew up here. But the brother, he has this nose. Like when I see it, and I see a lot of ancient, like Mesoamerican
Bro,
pictures. Mhm.
bro, say less, because no, not literally. We need to say more, but say on this topic, it's basement dwellers who say this because it will never satisfy. They'll never be satisfied. They could see the flattest, most round, bulbous nose. They'll still have something to say. And do you know? Do you know something? This nose, right? I have Ethiopian friends, like from the country, the modern country of Ethiopia. I've had Somali friends. This is their nose. A lot of them don't have the stereotypical Negroid nose. They just have straight noses. Maybe not as aquiline as the Europeans can get, but they have straight noses. They have straight noses. I was gonna say this statue looks just like the Sabaean. There's this Sabaean statue.
Mhm.
It's bronze, and it's obviously a black man. You can tell by the kinky and Sabaean. When we talk about Sabaean, we're talking South. Excuse me, Southern Arabian, um, uh, uh, ancient Southern Arabian kingdoms, which
Mhm.
were a black polity. They were black people,
Right.
akin to the East Africans. And there's a statue from that era. A lot of them just look like this, and they have the hair, the kinky, close curling, sort of short dreads like this guy, and the nose. But you can
Mhm.
tell they're black people. You
Right.
might know about the statue I'm talking about, but sorry, carry on. Like the nose, There's lots of black people I know with this nose.
And it's so funny, and it's I mean, the signs are there for anybody with eyes. Yemen is known as the mother of Arab nations, like the Muslims call Yemen the mother of Arab nations, and that's where you find the Sabians, right? And it's the
Mm,
same thing with the Olmecs, or that particular cultural complex in that area. They're known as the mother culture of Mesoamerica. But uh, that's just one. That they countered that one. That's what they were doing. Now a lot of some of these pictures you guys have seen. Now I want to point something out. What you guys have to understand, and I hope Mexicans will see this. All right, because I consider myself the worldwide resident black expert on Latin America, Latin American history, specifically Mexico and Mexican history. Now, what you have right here are modern day local politicians in the north of Mexico saluting the Mexican flag. I don't have to say nothing about it because I don't want to get the video flag, but you see what they're doing. We know where that
mm,
comes from. We know who this is. You have to go back and research the history of Jose Vasconcelos, who was the Secretary of Education back in the 40s, and he was a Nazi Party member, excuse me. And you have to understand these histories to understand why Mexico has such a problem with the black people historically and in modern times. I think I mentioned in the messages like, hey, the discussion, the headline for the discussion is why are ancient and modern Mexicans so obsessed with black men. So that's just kind of frame it up. Now I also wanted to just like I saved this because some people, other non-black people, don't understand when we say like a black red person, like they don't get it, you know. So I just say that I know people look at that and see that, but this is
There are
a
West African artifacts. There are West African artifacts where the actual figurines are red, brown, the same as you think you were. If you weren't told they were West African, you might think that they were Nubian or Egyptian artifacts.
right, the Igbo, the red Igbo. We have always heard about that over here. But again, this goes back to what I mentioned just a moment ago about the regional museums being where they hide all the real stuff. Now, this is a white dude on YouTube I just came across the other day, and he was there about 10 or 12 days ago. But he was in one of, I think it was the museum at Xalapa in Veracruz. And as you can see, there is no mistaking. That was just a quick screenshot that I took of this sphere, this large, I think is 1 ton sphere, right? Basalt rock, maybe. I'm not sure what the material is, but the carving in it is unmistakable. His face is, I mean, make sure you can see that. That face is unmistakable. There even looks like a beard, maybe, but that's a black man.
That's
There's
El
no
Negro.
mistaking that.
El Negro
Yeah,
got a
El
cameo in
Negro.
that. El
Exactly.
Negro, El Negro popping up everywhere.
Exactly. And I didn't even put two and two together, but I think that's El Negro is in that same museum if I remember correctly. And I think the guy talked about it in the video, but that's just to show you like, hey, the real deal stuff is in the the local and regional museums. So if people aren't doing traveling, and a lot of Mexicans in America, they don't travel to Mexico like that. They do not know the histories. Like when you tell them a song like La Bamba, which became very popular because of the '90s movie La Bamba with Lou Diamond Phillips. It was yeah, La Bamba. That is, they frame that as like a Mexican song, but doing the histories, it supposedly came from Angola, but we know it was from black people in Veracruz. We know that because that's what son jarocho, that's the culture of Veracruz, and that's the musical style. But if you're not going local, you're going to miss a lot of these things. I want to bring these up, right? These are the Lacandan Maya. Now, the Lacandan Maya are a people in Chiapas, and I wanted to bring this up because of the title of the video. Now, Lacandan, you have to kind of preface yourself when talking about these things because people run with, oh, look at his hair. The Lacandan is another umbrella term. Aztec is an umbrella term. Mayan is a cultural umbrella term. Lacandan is just a term that the Spanish settlers gave to any Indians or Aboriginals who weren't in the colonial society. They were still out in the forest. So that was the name that they gave to anybody, any group, any tribe, any nation. It wasn't a tribe. But today, most people think of the Lacandan Maya as a tribe. Interesting about the Lacandan, way back in the 50s, I believe, it was determined that they have the sickle cell trait, right? So these we'll have to go into that in another video, but these people have the sickle cell trait. Now you can kind of see, like we talked about, that the Amazonian group, you can still see that blackness, you can still see it. It's there, but
Can I drop in a point here whilst you're
yeah,
before I forget?
go ahead.
I made this point a while back. Some people say, "Oh, well, Veracruz still has these people that look like the Olmecs." Except that would have worked on me a few years ago. It would have worked on me a few years ago. Except it doesn't now, because that is, if you were thinking straight, these people who are few and far between, they're not the norm. They are few and far between, and I will admit I've seen them. Okay, they're in pockets. All right, but that is, if you're thinking straight, otherwise proof of what we're saying. Any other place, people would put two and two together and say, no, duh. If black people were the dominant people of this area once upon a time, once upon a time, and they've been washed out. These are the remnants of said black people. It's not that these are the people that were being portrayed facsimile in these Olmec statues. No, these are the mixed remnants of said black peoples. They're not the ones that were being portrayed. We have even the hair texture that was kept hidden by the Smithsonian until Van Sertima made it public, showing Nubian hair. You know, why did they hide that? So we have more than just a vague face to go on. We have other things. So that point, the point you're making here, these are markers, sickle cell markers. These are things that would show you wherever black people have been, they leave that. Wherever black people have been in significant numbers, they leave that trait. You can look at the paper that was released sometime in the 90s or the 80s that Professor Doctor, I'd like to call him professor. He's not an actual professor, but he's a learned man. Robin Walker. Robin Walker likes to make a lot of noise about a paper that was done in the 90s that's suppressed, except not among African, suppressed only, not suppressed amongst quote unquote Afro-centric communities like ours. The paper talks about this sickle cell trait that's left in southern Europe, Spain, and particularly Spain. And the sickle cell trait is the Benin variant from Africa, from black Africans. Wherever we go, we leave these traits. They found the they found the same thing in the south of the southern Arabian peninsula, which would obviously be because we have records talking about how the southern Arabian people, the Yemenis of old, ancient Yemenis, are indivisible. You can't tell them apart from actual Ethiopians, from Cushites. We have those records, Grecians, Greeks, Romans saying it. This is another Ethiopia. It's just separated by about 5 minutes of water between them. So that point that you're making about these people, sorry, I just had to do an Alex
No,
Jones
you're
and
fine,
just
brother. You're fine, brother. You're good. You're good. Let me I'll share that in a bit. What you're spot on, and it's so funny. I just had to go find a picture. Where the hell is it? Did I put it in? Okay, I did it in this one. That point is so wild because when they share pictures like this, what they'll do is they'll share number one, this picture, the Olmec wrestler is fake. That's a whole nother. That's one of a member of the fake corpus of Mexican archaeology. That's a fake. But what they'll do is they'll share pictures of people being called indigenous Americans today from different places, and with no context, they'll never tell you where they're from, but they'll say, "Hey, these are." Let me share this since we're on that point. They'll say, "Oh, look, these are what this picture right here of this dude. They've been sharing this stuff for years, right? Trying to say, hey, look, but they never tell you where he's from." And I say that is so important. Anybody who really knows anything about this conversation, this topic, knows how important this is. A good picture. The people on the other side of the debate share this picture everywhere. Look, I don't think it was Africans. Like they built an industry around this stuff. But what they do is they share pictures with no context, number one, and then they share pictures of people from different parts of the Americas, which is fine. But they never tell you, okay, where's that person from? This little guy right here, we know he's probably Amazonian, and I've already told you about the purest Amazonian type. I've already
is this
showed
the
that.
guy on the left hand side?
Can you see which one? Are you looking at?
Are we looking at the picture in the middle of the medley of people?
Oh, okay, yeah, because okay, my bad.
Yeah,
I
okay,
think it. You see it?
right.
See my mouse? Okay.
Yeah.
The young kid up here at the top right corner,
Mm-hmm.
like that's obviously an Amazonian look, right? But we know the purest Amazonian type is a Negro type, And if you look at all these people, they all look like they have a tinge of the more, if you will. They got
Mm,
a certain, streak of black blood. This is
mm.
why they'll never tell you where these people are from. They'll never do that. Now, let me go back to the one I actually saved. Now, if you can you see that one, this brother right here, he's
Mhm.
Muskogee Creek. So of course he's gonna look like that because the Creek Nation is the real Creek Nation, the Upper Creek Nation. They were black people. Like we'll have to go into a whole nother live for that, but they were black people, and so finally they give you details on a picture that they're trying to say, hey, this is what the Olmecs look like, but they show it from somebody in the North American Indian context, and he's from a nation that was historically considered a black nation. Right now, that's the biggest fight going on right now, is that the Muskogee Creek Nation kicked out the black members, right? And the Supreme Court of their own tribe said you got to keep them in. But I won't go too deep into that. But you can see that's a black person. Now, we were talking about the Lacandan Maya. Now, watch this, brother. This is an old picture of some women, right? Now, you can tell, I don't have to say nothing. You can see who represents the purest Mayan type among them, because the Lacandan, what's special about them in mainstream science, because mainstream science doesn't let you know, oh, the sickle cell trait was detected in them. They never talk about it, even though it's well known. What they always tell you is that, hey, the Lacandan Mayan is the purest Mayan type. But remember what I said, Lacandan was a umbrella term just for anybody in that in the lowland Chiapas, southern Chiapas, that was living in the forest. Didn't matter what nation, what ethnic group, whatever. It was just
Mm.
Lacandan. And you can see this in the picture like this. Now, Trill, which one of these sisters represents, of these five, represents the purest Mayan type?
Okay, right. You put me on a spot here. I'm gonna say I'm looking at the woman on the far left.
Exactly. Nobody, I mean, that is pure as clear as day that this sister represents the purest Mayan type. And that these other sisters are Lacandan in the general sense that they come from people who were unconquered by the Spanish. But this sister is, when they say, oh, the Lacandan represent the purest Mayan type, this is who they're talking about, right?
Mm.
Let me, that was the brother. And I just wanted to, I had to get up close, wanted to
It's
kind of,
almost like the same thing. So try and keep your train of thought. Sorry,
mhm.
I don't want to
Go ahead.
derail you too much. But is it that it is? Am I right in thinking of it in the same sense as they do with Arab? Because originally Arab is, speaking of really of black people. They're a very, in fact, they're blacker than some black people on the African continent. If you look at the original, but now Arab just is a very broad term, and it's even based. It's really talking about language and culture rather than actual ethnic type. Is it akin to something like that?
It's exactly like that. And it's even, you can even take that to the Aztec, because Aztec means people from the white place or the white nation. But remember, I told you that the name that the people, when you go into the records, is Tlilteca, which means people from the black place. So they flip the script just like they do white, white good, black bad, devil's food, cake, angels. It's just the way they set it up. But that's exactly what it is. That's exact. This sister right here. This is a Mayan sister, and I think she's a Caxiquel Maya, but she's very famous on YouTube. She has a cooking show. Now, I've seen so many black women look like this, right? But because the sister is Mayan culturally, people always say, "Oh, well, that's a Mayan person." Now, I started to use her pictures as like a catch, kind of like a Venus flytrap, if you will, because I'd argue with
Mm.
these people who represent the modern Mexican type, right? And they'll say, "Man, that's not a Mayan. She's obviously mixed with black." And I'm like, they don't even know. Like, that's a verified. She's a famous cook, like, person on YouTube with her cooking show. People travel to Guatemala to go see her, to go, learn Mayan cooking, right? I mean, it's plain as day. You can see, and I see this type in Honduras, Nicaragua, El Salvador, and you see it, And a lot of the people say, oh, well, that's from the African root. But then when you go to the Mayan context, you see it too. So it's like, okay, are these people mixed with Africans? And largely in Guatemala, that
You
didn't
put
happen.
her in you put her in a USA context, and people will say she's African American with, she's been, but she was, her ancestors were raped by the
Hmm.
white man. That's
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 a,
what they'll say.
that's what they're gonna say. That's what they're gonna say. And I'll tell you this: Latinos in general. This is not to jump on Latinos, but they're victims. Really, they're victims of the political history of and societal history, the social history of Latin America. Again, the Nazis were there, so like the concept of race and color is very warped in Latin America. Like I don't know what else to say about it, but I want to get to belabor that point. Now, these are pictures of modern Mexicans. See, it's a performative. They had to create the narrative and create a people to the point where in the early 1900s, like Leopoldo Batres, again, he was in the early 1900s, and he had been talking about how the ancient face of Mexico was being changed with all these fakes, right? And then you have the parades. Like parades are very important in human civilization. Like parades, you do it for war, you do it to reenact certain things about, in the history of the people. It's to create patriotism. It's also used to create certain narratives. Now, this is from the Bible. I think it's the Bible. I forgot which centennial it was. Does it say? Okay, yeah, it's 100 years after the Mexican independence, right? And they had a big in 1910. They had a big parade in Mexico, but it's fake. What they did is they went to the artifacts and they saw stuff in the artifacts and they created like a Hollywood scene.
It looks,
Like
it even looks, even though it's sepia tone and it's black and white, whatever, it looks produced.
exactly. Like if these were the real people and these are supposedly, Mexican Indians, they would
You got
have
you got
the
you
regular
got
stuff.
you got perfectly round shields here, like like it looks like you just literally ordered it from Temu, like oh my days.
Now this is Quitlo. Yeah, see, same thing. Like it's something that they created. Like it's not, and I forgot. Like I gotta go back in the archives another day, but I had the captions like written out perfectly with them, and they were saying like, "Oh, this is the descendant of Montezuma." Wait, here it is. Is this one of them? Okay, they tried to say that this woman was like one of the descend. Okay, they say that this was supposed to represent Malinche or Malintzin or Marina, who is the female who was supposedly helping Cortez when he got to Mexico. She was the translator, this, that, and the other. But this is the person. Now I won't say the name of the person who posited this, but they say that the Spanish were calling her Malinke, which is another name for the Mandinka.
Hmm.
That's another point. And if you see her name in Mexico, they call her Malinche, Malinche. And
Mm.
in Malinke, it's just the same word.
It's
And they
the
were
same
calling
thing.
her same
It's
thing. And they were
almost
calling her
like
by her people.
Japanese can't say um R properly. I can't remember what consonant they can't
Hero,
say.
hero,
Yeah, yeah,
hero.
yeah. It's almost like that. Yeah. And then you
Yeah.
have hello instead of
Uh-huh.
hello. It's almost like that's what's happened with that. That is exactly what's happened with that.
They say that that's what happened with the Cherokee, because the Cherokee have always been a non-indigenous people just by the mere fact that they're mostly mixed with Scottish settlers. But the somebody, I won't say his name either, but the word Cherokee it's a mispronunciation of an earlier word, and they say because these people were coming from Asia that they couldn't pronounce certain letters, right, and certain sounds. And so Cherokee it's a the original name was different and they switched it up. It's a funny story, but I won't go too deep into that. I just wanted to show those pictures. Here's another one.
Chat,
uh
hit the likes because what this is even a smattering. Brother Akata will be, if he will oblige, I'll be a regular feature on this channel, because we're not even really going into depths, into depths tonight. This is just a taster of a taster. So please hit the likes if you wanted to come back. Let me know. Give the live some love. Let the algo know that you like it, and that way I can prevail on him to come back, because this is amazing to me. This is amazing to me.
No,
Sorry,
I
sorry,
won't.
go on, bro.
No, you're good, brother. Now, you know these are the Woldavi brothers. Now, remember what I told you. I don't know if I showed you this last time or not, but I told you for sure that the ancient Americas is a mirror of the ancient Sahel. And most people, if you know anything about Black history, or like I know, about the ancient American history, but my root, where I got my start, right? Where I came into consciousness, if you will, it was about Africa. So most people know about the Wodabe, but it's so funny that this hat, I'm pretty sure that this is where the Mexican sombrero came from. It came from the Sahel. Um, that's a whole nother discussion, but got the feather in the heads with the yellow faces, right? Remember the yellow faces?
Hmm.
Now here we have these brothers. These brothers are representing the various military political positions within the Aztec or the Mexica Empire. Now the people say that, oh well, look, their faces are the real color and that their bodies are. That just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense, right? But let's see. Here's another picture. These are the Otomi. The Otomi also were posited as having the sickle cell trait. And so I just had to kind of throw it up next to each other to kind of.
Unpainted, I've seen there's one I could present now, but I have to go into rooting into my files here, locally. But there's one an unpainted face of one of these brothers, these individuals, and is a black person holding up what I can only imagine is an Indian,
Mhm.
lighter skinned, sort of Mongol
Oh
type.
yeah, yeah. That's the one that I think I showed you that one. Let me
He's covered in leopard skin,
yeah,
and his face is unpainted, and it's clear as day that that's a black
it's
person.
it's from the same codex as this. So what
Mm,
you were looking at the Jaguar warriors. What I'm showing you right
mhm.
now is the Eagle warrior. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. And I don't know if I have a picture now. I'll try to dig it up real
I've
quick.
not seen
But
that eagle one.
yeah, the Eagle one is I showed you. Brought it up briefly at the end of the last stream. But the Eagle, I think that these and people don't pay much attention to the Mexica because the Mexicans have just taken it and said those are our people. But the Eagle warriors, the Eagle warriors and Jaguar warriors were the elite was in both elite military fraternities within the Mexica Empire, and the proper name for the Eagle warriors was Coatlicue, and the name for ruler, that the Spanish said was a name for ruler among all of the people that they were coming into contact with in the island of the Caribbean and South America. The other place was Cacique. Now, I think I mentioned it last time that my theory, if you will, is that the most of the stuff that like most of the Mexica basically expanded, through military conquest and commerce. And that's why you see so many names of states in the United States that have Nahuatl origins, or the language of the Aztecs. And that's just another, kind of neat point, is that their name is Coatlicue, and then the name for king throughout the Americas is Cacique. So it's like, maybe these various, far-flung military generals became the rulers of various people. Like I had already talked about the Sigua Indians in Panama, who were proven to be Aztec, and they had just been sent down there on a military, expansion or commercial mission, if you will. But speaking of commercial, these are the Posteca. The Posteca are the merchant warrior class, and they were basically autonomous, right? They didn't have to answer to anybody really. In fact, they were tasked with expanding the Mexica Empire through trade. And I mean, it's a black dude. I don't know what else we can say with the with the spear. It looks like a black dude, and the
It's
Garifuna.
it's a black dude, but it's also I I myself I'm only just appreciating in the Sahel region how phenotypically different, you know, those breed of West Africans are. The Fullers have this guy looks like he's got straight hair, but
Mhm.
other than that, straightish hair anyway. Other than that, is a black guy. But
Yeah,
you have that in the Sahel as well. The Fullers have fine hair. I think for the most part they have fine hair. Um, yeah, that's just what I wanted to add there. That's it.
I last time we talked on the last stream, I told you about Cinco de Mayo and the blackface that they use to commemorate, the heroes of the fight. Even this little kid right here looks like I forgot the name. I think it's Mayan Bu. I forgot the name of that Dragon Ball Z character, but it's so funny. You see, that's why I said, they're obsessed with us in ancient Mexico. They're obsessed with us in modern Mexico. I was a few years back. I was reading about the Indians of Michoacan. Now, the Indians of Michoacan is in western Mexico, and the group of people there are called the Purepecha. And I always make a joke that the god of the Purepecha is somebody named uh, Kuri Kaueri, and the Purepecha would put blackface on, paint their whole body black to honor the god
Mm.
Kaori Kweri because he painted himself black. And I was just like, wait, I always joke about it, but it's a real question. Like, are you telling me that the Mesoamerican, all of the like all different pyramid building Mesoamerican cultures, they painted their slaves black, they painted the dead black, they painted the people who are going to be sacrificed black, they painted their gods black, the warriors painted themselves black to go to war. Like, I'm like, damn, these people wanted to be black, if they weren't black. So like, I don't get it. But I'm sharing an interesting article, and I won't go through the whole article, but
Before you
just
share this
go ahead.
article, let me quickly do let me do a shout out. So thank you so much, Kel. Oh, this is a funny name. Kelnari Mra. Sounds Ghanaian. Speaking of which, I'll reveal something in a second. This young brother needs to link up with Professor Robin Walker to help catalog his work. $10 super chat from Kwel Narimwa. I've already had Professor Robin Walker, and I hope to get him on again in sometime in the future. But yes, he's an amazing, amazing individual, academic genius man. Thank you for that super chat. Um, I wanted to add the brother Kamji verse is with us here tonight. I've seen him in the
That's a
chat.
serious brother,
Thank
man.
you.
It's a serious
Thank
brother.
you. Yeah, very serious, brother. Very serious, brother. His research puts me to shame. I go on his channel and I'm amazed whenever I go on his channel about how much work he puts into to just shutting down the narrative. So thank you for joining us, Camgiverse. Guys, if you don't know, Camgiverse's channel has recently been demonetized. As sure as I'm sat here, this is coming for me too. The excuse with him, he will elaborate in the coming days, whatever weeks. But the given excuse by YouTube is that something to do with AI. But as you, if you follow Camgiverse's channel, yes, there has been the use of AI narration in the past, but most of his stuff recently, um, not even recently, most of his stuff for as long as I can remember now, since I've been properly seriously following him, is not AI at all. So I don't know. It's one of the lamest excuses to demonetize him. I've been seeing videos about how YouTube has changed its algorithm and we all just need to get along with it. No, I don't buy it. I'm not want to be one of these NPCs that are going to say, yeah, that's all it is. No, they are targeting channels that we are living in an era where Daniel, the book of Daniel in scripture says, go now, Daniel, go on your way, close this book up. It's not for you to understand everything that's been given to you. There will come a time when knowledge will increase and men will go to and fro for knowledge. I believe we're in that era. We're in an era where things are being revealed that have been suppressed. Um, People are the age of the internet, which is they was intended to be a weapon against us, but really it's been a double-edged sword. We're using that to unearth so many things. Knowledge is increasing, and YouTube, the writing was on the wall. Speaking of Daniel, the writing was on the wall when YouTube was bought by Google. That should have never happened. This fake country that calls itself America, this bastion of moral righteousness and freedom, champion of competition. There's no way with proper antitrust laws, Google should have ever been able to buy YouTube. Facebook should have never been able to buy Instagram. So, but the writing was on the wall when that happened. And now we have a situation where there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere effectively to go. You know, there's nowhere effectively to go, and they can just do whatever they want to us. Coming on these platforms and feeding off our energies, feeding off where the people that make this platform what it is, and they're just making up anything to go after people that are unearthing what Daniel was talking about, what the angel said to Daniel. They're unearthing the knowledge in these last days. People like Camgiverse who are doing that, people like myself who are doing that, they're going after us. And they will come for my channel soon. So we have we need to speak up, we need to support each other. If you can, please. It's not even a case of if you can, guys, we pay like we the price of a chocolate bar, is what it costs a month to support your favorite content creator, people like Camgiverse. So go on, make sure you back his channel um off platform on Patreon. And I don't know, Camgiverse, if you can put it in the chat there, any other ways that people can support you. He's also, I think, building something major that he'll announce off platform, that he'll announce in the coming days, weeks. So please, that's just a rant just to say support Camgiverse. And I also wanted to add this, right? You were talking. Thank you, brother Akata, for joining us for this live, and Akata Uno, and put some respect on that name. What you were saying, that there's a tribe, a Mesoamerican tribe, and you said they were Kwashi. Can you say that name again? Kwashi something?
So excuse me, it's not a tribe. The Kwashikwe were the Eagle
Kwashi.
Warrior. Yeah,
The
they were the Eagle
eagle,
Warriors. Let me
eagle
bring it back
warrior. Right. Stop. I thought to myself, eagle. I'm from the Yoruba tradition. I'm from the Yoruba peoples of Nigeria. I was trying to think, eagle. What's our word for eagle? No, it doesn't quite match. No link there. Um, our word for eagle is awodi. But what other words come to mind? Kwashi, kwashi, kwashi. And something came to mind. Kwashiorkor. That's a disease.
up.
Kwashiorkor is a disease, but it's a medical term for a disease where these black children, they like to show these black children in Africa with kind of malnutrition, and they got the really big bellies and big heads and whatnot.
Hmm.
But it sounds like an African name, word,
Hmm.
Kwashiorkor. So I go looking right as you were speaking. Kwashiorkor. It sounds like Kwashikie, whatever that word is. And lo and behold, it's not a European term. Of course, it's not a European term. It doesn't sound anything like a European term, but it's a Ghanaian word. And properly speaking, it means red boy or red person.
Mm, wow.
So
That's crazy. That's wild. Are you so you're I thought you were from Ghana, so you're Nigerian.
I'm Nigerian, yeah.
Okay. It's funny because I was thinking that you were Ghanaian from last time. And if anybody who's Ghanaian or knows anything about Ghana, and I don't know much, but I'm just starting to find things out real quick, just like you did that quick search. But I had mentioned that there's a group in the Guianas, the Guiana Shield, which is Suriname, Guyana, and French Guyana, right above Brazil in mainland South America, and they have the maroon groups there that they call the Bush Negroes, and these are people who have they're tribal people who they say broke away from the slave master and went living
Mm,
in the jungle for forever. but those people speak a language very close to Twi. Now, there have been people who tried to go back there and do videos, and it's unintelligible. They can't understand each other very well, but the names are, I mean, the languages are very similar. And the particular group of Akan, I believe it's the Fante.
Yeah, yeah,
They
yeah.
had, when you talk about, when you look at their oral traditions and the way that they're sea people, and they talk about people, giving honor to people who went on the other side, but it's not.
Wow.
I've never heard of anybody in the oral tradition sense in West Africa talking about slavery in that sense, but I have heard about pre-colonial, oral traditions and understandings about people who went across. And I mean, white people have written about this. Rafa Ness wrote about the Akan in America. You can look it up. Akan in America, in ancient America. And it's these people who uh it's a whole deep, we'll have to talk about it another time. I don't want to get too
But I
deep
can't. For
into
people
that.
who don't know, I can't properly speaking is a Ghanaian ethnic, is a Ghanaian nation,
Yeah.
and
How
Rafinesque is this Mexican academic talking about the Akan in America.
yeah. It's just
This is
so
where it
deep,
gets
man. It's
really
wild.
this is where it gets really wild. And yeah, because I know people who think shout out to our group on Instagram. I know the brother Craig thinks I don't want to misrepresent him, but he believes a lot of the things that we think even originated in Africa is originated in America and then came back, and blah blah blah. But for me, it doesn't even matter now. It doesn't matter. What matters is that black people were doing this shizzle like long before anyone else. They were going back and forth
Yeah.
long before anyone else, all over the place.
Yep.
So wherever it was that they started from, it doesn't really matter. It's just that black people were all over the place before someone else came and decided, no, we're just gonna just unalive whole waves of them periodically, progressively, and also unalive all the documentary evidence that like they burn down like whole libraries of the Aztecs and the
They
Mayans.
both, so they it's a common theme, brother, everywhere. Lucia, I was arguing with a dude the other day about it. I need to stop arguing with these motherfuckers and go outside and take a walk. But Lucia, who is the person that they found, let me just go to it. So, maybe somebody doesn't know if you've been under a rock, but Lucia is the person that they found in Brazil, the skull that they found in Brazil among many. And when they did the reconstruction, a forensic guy in Britain, a white guy in Britain, redid it and said, "Hey, this is the face of a Negro." Now, the museum burned down. The museum burned down. They said, "Oh, we were able to miraculously her skull was not damaged." So then when it comes back out, they have a completely different look. It's a completely different look. And so the other guys, the other half of the idiots say, "Oh, well, her skull was one of the first things that they salvaged." And I'm like, dude, in the news is saying that everything, it was miraculously found in the rubble. Now y'all are saying that it was the first thing that they salvaged, right? Like, the museum burned down. I believe it's the 1890 census of the United States. It burned. It was where it was being housed. It was burned down. So most of the records from the late 1800s are just redone. They've made it themselves. That's why some of the records are so clean on ancestry.com, is because they just inferred most of the stuff. And it was mostly in states where black people are, in the black belt in the southeastern United States. Those were the records that were most affected. So if your ancestor was saying, "Hey, I'm Indian," or whatever, who knows now, because of the burning down of that particular building that was housed in the
Mm,
1890 census.
mm.
So
And
I
it
mean, there's a
always happens. It always tends to conveniently burn down our stuff. So it's like I'm at the stage now where with ancient Egypt, I've noticed something. It's like clockwork. The statues that look like us invariably are chipped. they're damaged. They've got massive wear and tear. That's if the noses even survive, but they got massive wear and tear. The
Hmm.
ones that don't look like us, the ones that have these straight noses and no lips, they, brother Akata, they are pristine.
Always.
They are pristine. Like they darn well look like they were made yesterday.
Yeah.
Like coming out of one of these 3D machine 3D photocopiers.
Yeah.
It is unbelievable. So now I'm at the stage where I feel like you're a fool if you're looking at some of these statues and believe that what you're looking at is real,
Hmm.
because it you can't. It's ridiculous. How are Negroid statues the earliest? They always tend to be, and you look into them, they always tend to be the first ones to be discovered. But then another one of say a Menemat. I was looking at Menemat. You will look at Menemat the third, and what tends to come up are these pristine statues of him.
Hmm.
And when you look into it, those statues were found later. The oldest statues of Amenemhat the third, this guy looks like he could have come out of, looks like you, bro.
Yeah.
It looks like you
Yeah.
with dreadlocks.
Uh-huh.
And but they're damaged, it's badly preserved, it's looking horrible and shabby. And you're thinking to yourself, but why can't I, when I Google Amenemhat the third, why isn't this coming up? Why do I have to go digging? You would think that the oldest statues, the ones that were found earlier, the first
Right.
excavated, that those would be the ones that would be everywhere, as opposed to ones that were found later. In many cases, we're not even sure who we're looking at.
Yep.
But those are the ones that you get when you type in Google. Like, guys, I don't really care what names you want to put on this, conspiracy theories, whatever. You do whatever you want to do whatever you want to do. But this is some sick, next level sick stuff. Go on, bro.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna say, and you have to. It's it could only be brothers to bring it all together, because the histories are just so, they seemingly so disparate. They're all connected, and I know that's cliche, but I just wanted to bring this up. There's a and people can research it, the conspiracy of Mexico City in 1612. This was basically, and you can read it right here, on May 2nd, 1612, Spanish colonial authorities in Mexico City executed 35 Black Mexicans, Afro-Mexican slaves, and free people, they say, following rumors of an alleged plot to rebel, kill Spanish masters, and crown a king. Now, just kind of stick with me.
Mhm.
They crowned a king and a queen, number one. And I had it up earlier because we were talking about hair. It was something we were talking about hair. But, and you guys can go look, this is on academia.edu. Their hair was curly. Afro-Mexican village. For black people, and Mexicans will tell you that the black population in Mexico was fractional. Oh, that's why we have 2% black blood, because there was a couple hundred. For it to just be a handful of black folks, coast to coast, top to bottom, the history is littered with us. It's just us. It's us. It's them trying to. They sided with the Spanish against us. Like, that's all that can be found out when you actually cross reference and read the histories. But this one is a very interesting. I'm not going to read the whole article, obviously, but just stick with me. After the Indians of San Pedro Solostoc held their annual election for village officers in 1746, the priest and district mayor vetoed their choice of fiscal. It's the Spanish vetoed the Indians' choice, community official who oversaw villagers' ecclesiastical requirements, proposing instead a man named Pascual Antonio. The villagers opposed Pascual's appointment, arguing that he was a mulatto and therefore could not legally hold office in an Indian village. Witnesses from Xolostot attested that Pascual Antonio was a mulatto, as were his parents. Their hair was curly, the witness pointed out. Officials quickly checked the parish register and found Pascual listed as Indio. Pascual agreed. His neighbors, however, tried to block him from a position of authority by stressing his African ancestry. This election marked the beginning of Pascual's struggle with his neighbors over his ancestry and his rights within his home community. Similar struggles were played out in Mexican Indian villages throughout the 18th century. This paper argues that Mexican Indians, manipulated colonial law and racial stereotypes to jeopardize the security of their neighbors of African descent.
But they
Now,
were not African descent.
exactly,
They were indigenous.
you're right on the same. We're on the same. We talking Turkey, brother. Now, just stick with me. Now, the let me see, is it right here? I know I got it. I know I got it. Boom. All right. Black Indians and savage Christians unmaking the other in performance of the conquest. Now, I'll just kind of just sum it up. So when the Spanish, when they got to Mexico, Hernan Cortez, they didn't have a big contingent of Spanish soldiers. The conquest of Mexico, or really the conquest of one particular tribe, the Mexica, the Tlaxcala of the Black Nation, it was them being conquered by the Spanish and all of the other folks that were under the Mexica, right? Now, I got to read this excerpt. Few of the Spanish conquistadors, either spiritual or secular, could have hoped for a welcome like the one that greeted Alonso Ponce in the village, in each of the villages he passed through during his travels in the province of Michoacan, which is Western Mexico, land of the Purepecha people, from October 1586 to February of the following year. In his Tratado, blah, 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 curious and learned treatise on the marvels of New Spain, Ponce's secretary, Antonio Ciudad Real, describes the elaborate festivities featuring dances, mock battles, and occasional plays that invariably culminated in offerings to the Franciscan prelate and requests for his blessing. Using nothing more than the force of his mere presence, Ponce has shown blah, 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 hearts of his indigenous subjects. You see it. I'll let y'all go slow so y'all can read it. Da, 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 da. Now, let's pay attention to this. There was not a single Indian, big or small, in the village who did not come to see him, and they were all dumbfounded looking at him. Ciudad Real tells us of his employer's reception in one village. Strangely enough, however, when the Europeans look back, what they see are not their native subjects, but black men and chichimecas, the nomadic Indians to the north, against whom the Spanish were waging an ongoing war of conquest. Now, when people read that, and that's what this article, y'all can go and check the article out to read the whole thing. They read that and they try to say that these Indians were putting on a show for this Spaniard by putting on plays and mock battles and reenactments of battles. But they come out as Chichimeca and black men, right? Now, if you know anything about the history of Mexico, the Chichimeca are the nomadic. Hold on, I gotta bring it up. The picture. The Chichimeca are the nomadic modern day Mexicans who are white. Now, you can't Chachalmeca. You can't. I cut it off right there. Now, let me see if I should just. Yeah, I'm gonna just bring it up. Chachalmeca was just a name, a generic name for the nomadic tribes who came from the north, represented by today's Indian, the people, the Siberians, the Asian derived people, right? Let me just pull this one up so you can see the whole picture. And if you look closely to the top right, it says Chachalmeca, right? Or Chichimeca is Chichalmeca. They switch it up from time to time. But as you can see, as you can see, this is a white nomadic Indian, right? As opposed to like our brother Ishlilton, little blackface nigga with the cornrows. You know what I'm saying? Now remember, these are two different racial types. So when they say that these people right here were the Michoacano Indians, who are representative of the Purepecha and modern day Mexicans, they dressed up as the Chichimeca and the black men. Scholars try to say, oh, they were dressing up as the slaves, or they also, in this article, they say, oh, they were reenacting the battle of the reconquest of Spain, los cristianos y los moros, or the Christians and the Moors. So I said, well, what the hell? These are Mexicans who were the last people to really be in contact with the Spanish, you know, in any real context, because they were in the far west, because they were in Michoacan. So what the hell do they know anything about the Moors and all of that? Unless the Moors came over. Now, you know, I don't want to open up that can of worms, but there are people let me just pull it up. It gets deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. I pulled it up on
Pull it up, and whilst you pull that
Claude.
up, let me just say, guys, I was thinking about this today, right? And I was thinking, I think I was, I don't know what I was doing, but it was a moment of clarity came to my mind. I thought, imagine if you were descended from people who had always lived in the Americas. And I mean, I don't know. This might sound like duh to a lot of us, but imagine you got your own history, you've got your own markers, you got your own stories. You can darn well find yourself in these codexes, um, despite all the obfuscation, and you can tell your story properly. But someone else insists, no, 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 your lineage is you were captured and you were brought here. I don't know. Something about that registered with me properly today. And I thought, huh, I'm a proud Nigerian British man, but really I emphasis on the Nigerian part. Let's just move out the British bit. I'm a proud Nigerian man, right? Imagine if someone was saying to me, saying to my children 100 years from now, 200 years from now, no, 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 no. Like, I know you live here right now, but you were brought here as slaves from say they've pushed us further south in Africa. Say they've pushed us past past Nigeria and Ghana, and like 500 years from now, we're debating that we're actually indigenous to West Africa, and we're not really supposed to be down here in Namibia. Um, and someone say, no, 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 you folk, you black ones here in Nigeria, no, no, you're not really, you're actually, you were brought here from Namibia down south, you were brought here from Central African Republic as slaves. And you're like, what? It just dawned on me today that, you know what, squash this pretendian thing. I'm sure there were slave ships. I'm sure, and I'm not denying that. I'm not denying that. Um, but just imagine if you could tell your story properly and someone still keeps insisting, no, you were brought here as a slave. Like it just made sense to me why someone, I'm sure there are grifters who don't know what they're talking about, who are just jumping on this bandwagon too. But I'm sure there are people who have done their research and know what they're talking about. Imagine the annoyance constantly being told, no, 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 no. You were brought here as slaves. Like, no, I can't. I don't want to start swearing and cussing. That's
It's
not my
still it's
style.
very annoying, but you know what? Not to cut you off, it's annoying, but it just it kind of fuels. I know I'm speaking personally. It just lets me know that we're on to the truth. We're on the on trajectory towards the truth, or we've already uncovered it.
Mm,
Like I, it's just crazy the pushback, the outright pushback. Like, because I'm not. I got so much other stuff going on in my life that I find this stuff, over the last years, 10 years or so, and just kind of cataloging it. But like, I know I'm not just a wide eye, hand
mm,
wavy,
mm.
like just looking for something black. Like when I see it, it's there. That's all I tell them. And when you actually read it in context, it gets even more clear. And like I said, most Mexicans, is not to single out the Mexicans, but again, Mexico was the center of civilization in the Western Hemisphere for a reason. Most Mexicans, modern day Mexicans, they don't know anything about their history, and maybe it's not their fault, but it has a lot to do with the various episodes of whitening that they went through
Yeah, no,
officially.
no, they're participants in their own victimization in that sense because they're deeply racist, bro. The
They're very
Mexicans
racist.
are one of some of the most racist people. And when I say racist, I'm really meaning at this stage anti-black. They're
Yeah,
very, very anti-black. They feel like, and part of it is a lot of it is insecurity. I follow boxing, and it rears its head properly in boxing. You know, these guys can't scrap with us. They cannot touch us
at
on a
all.
physical level. It is what it is. It is what it is. But this that is a constant source of consternation for them, and boxing is a very macho sport in which men don't have to mince their words, and where you get people not having to mince their words, the truth comes out, and you will see that racism constantly in the sport of boxing. You know, Teofimo Lopez.
Virulent racist.
It's Teofimo Lopez's father, Devin Hay. What's this guy, Ryan Garcia?
Yeah,
Some of the stuff that their entourage gets away with saying and doing is unbelievable. It would never be allowed in the NFL. Would never be allowed in the Premier League in
yeah.
England here. But boxing allows it because, well, it just allows it, doesn't it? But
It
and it
sells.
invariably comes from the Hispanics, Mexicans. They have this in there, so it is whatever. I don't feel sorry for them. I don't feel sorry for them in terms of having their history kind of cut up and them not knowing themselves properly either. Because look, that's what you want to do. You want to. This is the thing about this topic. Nobody's denying the Mongoloid type their history. Nobody's denying that they're where your mainstream stereotypical Indians in the Americas. Nobody's denying that. But what the records show, what the historical records, the anthropological records, the archaeological records shows is that there were blacks there too. There were the black type Indians there too. Why people can't hack that or deal with that is that's where the problem is, because we're not the ones saying that. We're not the ones erasing a whole people. We're actually saying you were there, but we cohabited the place with you. We were actually there too. We were as indigenous as you guys were. We traveled the world. You people want to say you crossed the Bering Strait. Yeah, we crossed the oceans. You want to stick to the Bering Strait? Fine. I doubt the Bering Strait thing. I think you guys probably sailed here too. But whatever, stick to your Bering Strait. We're telling you that we sailed here, just like you did your thing and got here somehow. We sailed here too. We traveled, we got here, and but they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it because they have also imbibed, and it's part of their cozy blanket that they like to have. They like to have. Everybody can team up against Blackie. Everybody can team up against Blackie. That's the common thread. Everybody can likes to feel superior against Blackie. No matter what the beef is, we can all team up and say nope, no Blackie, no Blackie Papi or whatever the Dominicans say.
Mhm.
Word of mouth. What's this? Word of mouth guy. Word of mouth guy. That's a cool name. Sorry. Word of mouth guy with a $5 super chat says this chat fire. Delaware Moors. I don't know what Delaware Moors are, but thank you so much for that.
Delaware Moors. It's a term for the Lenape, I believe. The Lenape Indians up north. I guess what, New Jersey. They called them Delaware Moors.
Wow. Wow, that's another rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Listen, go on, show us what you're about to show us. Before I forget, sorry, before you show us this, you said something last time I had you when you came on. You said that what's this famous Mexican celebration in America? You said the Mexicans
Oh,
actually don't know the root of that. That it's
yeah.
actually go on talk to me about that briefly.
Yeah, it's and it's related to that this article that I was sharing about the an ancient example of what we're talking about, and then a colonial example of what we're talking about is Cinco de Mayo.
Cinco
Let
de
me go
Mayo,
back
that's it.
to it. Yeah, and I showed these screenshots specifically. Is it here or was it? I think I put it in this one. Yeah, it's up here. I think so. Didn't I? Yeah. So like Mexicans, and they joke about it because like they say, oh well, the gringos, the Americans, um, they don't like Mexicans, but they like celebrating Cinco de Mayo, or try to make it because people. So I think some white folks used to think that it was a Independence Day celebration, and it's not. Independence Day for Mexico is like September 16th, I believe, but this was, they didn't understand that. And so Mexicans wanting to correct them, as it were, they always say, hey, Cinco de Mayo, we don't even that's when they start to let you know, like, hey, Mexicans don't even really celebrate that. And they're like, well, why? That's only an American. And it's like, no, it's not American. It's only celebrated in Puebla. And there's a reason for that. It's because of the the importance of the black people that were there. Somebody tried to tell, and another dude I was talking to the other day, he said these were one of the dudes, they were both on the same thread. One dude said, oh, these were black slaves, or these were the Sudanese, because there were Sudanese helping the French, because Sudan was clicked up with the French, but they're on the French side and they have the fez, and they're dressed as Frenchmen. These people are dressed as the Mexicans, and then the other dude said, well, they're dressed as this particular tribe from up in the mountains that came down and helped. I was like, well, shit, that tribe was black then, weren't they? I mean, what are we talking about? But yeah, it's the same thing. It's they don blackface to commemorate, that particular battle. But it's interesting because these people that I was talking about, the Purepecha, who dress up, who put on black body paint to honor a god who supposedly put on black body paint or something like that. But and anybody, sometimes Mexicans will come into the comments after the after the live and start talking and trying to ask questions and trying to put their opinions out. But the Purepecha, the ruling dynasty of the Purepecha was a group called the Wakusecha. The Wakusecha family or the dynasty is like they were the ones who you think about when you talk about the Purepecha and the Michoacan kingdom, if you will, or the kingdom of the Purepecha. Now, what's interesting is that this particular article is trying to say that these Purepecha people were dressing up as black men and chichimecas because the chichimecas supposedly were the enemies of the Spanish, which is a lie. The chichimecas were the people who were helping the Spanish. Chichimeca was just a name that meant nomadic Indian from the north or the west or the northwest. And that's the modern day Mexican. That's who they're descended from. So what they're actually talking about when they say, let me go back to it, when the European look back, what they see are not native subjects, but black men and chichimecas. What they're talking about, they were not reenacting the Battle of Granada or some shit in Moorish Spain. They were reacting the conquest of Tenochtitlan. And the black men are the Aztecs. Because, and I'll tell you why I brought up Claude, is because when you go into the histories, there are a lot of scholars, the people that are most published and the people whose opinions are most well highlighted are always the people who are towing the line and sticking to the status quo. But there are plenty of scholars who said, no, this isn't like the reenactment of some African slaves or something, because again, the Purepecha, they use black face or whatever in their own pre-Columbian traditions. So let me just go to it. I won't read the whole thing. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Why indigenous Christians, key Spanish allies, talking about the Purepecha, would costume themselves as enslaved Africans and wild northern Indians has fascinated historians, and there is no single agreed answer. So these dudes are saying, oh, the Africans and Afro-descended people of New Spain, pretend again, they're acting like there was just a whole boatload, just a whole nation of people brought over and just like infiltrated the country. And that's why you see them in all of the histories. And it's not true. Now, here we go. But the performances almost certainly had pre-Hispanic roots as well. The Relación de Michoacán, which is like the main codice or the codex from Michoacán and the Purepecha people, records that Purepecha lords ritually blackened themselves with soot in honor of the principal god Curicaveri, or here it says Curicaveri, a practice known as Viriquareni. My daughter's name is Harini, but black was a sacred color tied to, black was a sacred color tied to fire, warriors, and divinity. Some scholars, notably Harris, read the colonial area black men dances as old religious practices that survived under a Christian acceptable disguise. Now, down here, I asked for it to kind of name all of the various or the different surviving dances. And it talks about the Danza de los Negritos, which is in several places in Mexico, specifically Michoacan, which doesn't have any demonstrable history of slavery, not in the sense of Guerrero or Oaxaca or Veracruz. Here's a couple of the other ones y'all can kind of look up when you want to.
I don't know, maybe your screen might have okay, now we can see it.
I am sorry about that, brother.
That's fine.
But I was reading from this, yeah, and it's just talking about what I was saying about the Purepecha Indians, about them dressing up in blackface, and this. So again, a separate but related Danza de los Negritos exists among the Totonac of Veracruz. Now, the Totonac are these are the Totonac people that I was showing you earlier. That picture of is it up here? Isn't it this? The sister with the like the short dreads, kind of spiky.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
That's
mm-hmm.
Totonac. That's Totonac. So just to go back here, and just I'm not going to read any of this, any more of that, but this is just the very again the Danza de los Muertos and Cristianos. They were trying to say that these Indians knew about you know a fight on the other side of the world, and they were kind of like reenacting it, but makes no sense. They were reacting the Noche Triste or the fall of Tenochtitlan, and the black guys, the black men that they were dressing up as, were the Mexica for sure. I don't have any doubt about it. But
Which we have codexes representing and showing.
exactly, exactly, exactly. So you guys can kind of take a look at that. But I was sharing one, like a Google search I was showing you about the conspiracy of Mexico City with the crowning of the king and the queen, and how this threw the Spanish into a tizzy. And it's a lot more written about it than I even thought. Since the last stream, I found that out. But if you want, where is it? I just had it. Oh, there it is. Okay, again, this is going back to, I mean, that article I was saying, detailing that particular reenactment of the battles that they're saying are the Moors and the Christians, but it doesn't make any sense. And other white folks have said, yeah, these people have been using black paint, to reenact stuff since before, the Spanish got here. Uh, and I was pulling up stuff, man, like, and I know you got kind of you're short for time, but I'll just show you what I was looking at earlier while you were talking, and I was flipping through it. Uh, there's so many words for blackness and literal blackness and black people in the Nahuatl language of the Aztec. Like, why would they have it if it wasn't, you know, if they weren't there? So when you see the word or the suffix ayotl, that's talking about a person. Like, that's a actual person. So when they say Tlilticayotl, they're talking about the blackness or the complexion of a person. I'm hot now. But hold on, let me answer this. And then let's see. Another one, something dark, gray, dark, swarthy, someone with a black face. Ishkapotstik, right? Ishliltik. Remember, Ishlilton is the brother with the cornrows and small black
Mm,
face. Now
mm.
they'll try to tell you that, oh, that just means his face was painted black. But again,
Oh.
damn, I can't do it with this because I'm in Google Drive. But his the first one, two, three, the first five letters of his name is actually the name for face in Nahuatl. It's Istli and Istliltik, or that's just showing you that's talking about complexion.
Can we see it? Is it it's not showing on screen.
Oh shit, man, this technology, brother.
That's it. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
So there's the word I was saying about blackness and the body,
you.
ayotl, Kiltik ayotl. There's another one talking about someone with a black face. But
Mm,
see, and this is how you always catch them. So this says someone with a black face, but then they'll tell you that guy, the small black face, Ishlilton, that his
mm,
name means, small black face, that it was painted. I was like, no, it just means dark or black complexion, because his name also, part of his name also means complexion, like black complected.
mm.
Ishtik,
Not paint.
not paint,
Complexion.
complexion. The word, when you see the word, when the Aztec were very, very expressive and descriptive in their language. So when they wanted to say something was painted black, they had words for it. If somebody or something had a black substance put on it and changed the color to black, you usually will see the word tlili, which is like ink or paint or soot, a foreign substance. And then this is just like a name for a foreigner. Here's another name with, black, to turn or become black. Yapali, the color black, but they just said that the color black was Tiltik.
Why
Yapaltik.
would you have why would you have words for defining an ethnic group
That didn't exist,
that
apparently.
didn't exist?
You tell me. The Mayan did it too. Everybody did it, really. But Tiltik Siwatu, that literally means a black woman.
Chat,
Tiltik.
chat, chat. Do you hear that? Why would you have please,
Mhm.
can somebody there's enough people in the chat. somebody must disagree with us. Somebody must disagree with us. If you're out there and you're listening and you think this is all woo woo and rubbish, just you know, um, moderators, leave them alone. Just entertain us. Why would you have words describing people that didn't actually exist? Go on, bro.
Yeah, let me pull one up, something up, and to that point, because it just makes no sense. It makes no sense. Let me just, before I pull it up, let me just pull it up. All right. So kakatsak is another word that you see that means that they use for black people. So they say that the word tliltik or tlilteka or tliltika meant black people. They say that the word kakatsak meant black people. I mean, you saw the various words. Uh, Not that one. A black person or a foreigner. I think that was a general term, but you see all the names for that, right? Let me go to this one. And there was somebody, I think it was in the last, maybe it was the last one, I can't remember, but I was showing how the principal gods of the Mexica, who are their ancestors, right? Quetzalcoatl was a king at one point. But if you look at these facsimile codices, this one is the Matrotensis. Let's see, is it going to pull up? There it is. And you see these words, that term in the Cayotliltic. And then the other brother who had it on his was, let me see, I think it was Tlaloc. Yeah, I think it was him. Bear with me, brother.
Mm-mm-mm.
Family. Another one in the Cayotliltic, right? Now, and you see what color they're painted, right? Now, the ones, so here's again, those are real people. Here's another person that I told you about this guy right here. He's the Chachalmeca, or the nomadic northerners who descended from Aztlan, actually, and who are the proper Aztecs. They are painted white, but they're not, it's not described as being painted white. It's because they are considered another group, right?
Mm.
Now, before I go to that one, I want to pull this up so it stays up. So we see the name in the Cayotliltic. Damn, I wasn't trying to do that. In the Cayotliltic, we saw that. Now, when we actually go, tell me this. And I ask the Mexicans this all the time. Why is the same word that was used to describe Quetzalcoatl, Otochtin, Tlaloc, Eastlilton, and all these guys, why is that the same word that they use in the colonial context for black people? This is the glyph for black for Tliltic. Remember, the word Tliltic means black, but then if you put the Teka on it, it means a black person or the people of the black nation. So you find you find so many variations of this same name when people are trying to explain it. Oh, well, Tliltic means black. Oh, well, it means something black. Oh, well, it means black people. Oh, well, no, black people meant Tliltique. Oh, no, but Tliltique was just a corruption of Tlilteca. But why is it, and in the other one, again, why is it that a supposed African, they use the word Tliltic for him? He's a dark gray in color, right? And we see the same thing. We see the same exact thing for the actual
Can
in
you
the
go back to
codices.
the original Titlik there, the one with the dots in his?
Oh yeah, the
This,
brother. Yeah.
yeah, I love that the brother. Eh, I just want to
Yeah.
make a point on this. So, if you read the is it back up? There we go. It
Yeah.
says this simplex glyph for a black man or woman shows a head in profile facing towards the viewer's right. He question mark has a white collar visible and his ears are white. His hair is short. Listen to this, guys. Suggested by dots. I don't know why that's funny to me. What do you mean suggested by dots? That's kinky hair. That's black hair. That's the same thing you see on the other side of the Atlantic in Greece and like these ancient classical artifacts, they depict black hair with like little dots because
Like
that's what
this.
it looks like. These people said his hair is depicted. They don't say anything about look just like this. Look at this.
And the guys were telling the dudes that argue, they were like, no, this isn't. Man, I don't even want to get into that. But yeah, I'm like, dude, this is what that's representing. It's representing the nap, dude. It's the nap. I don't know what else to say. Like these like they just don't get it because it's not them. I said, like a dude was telling me, I forgot somebody. It was somebody, I think that they may have been uh, part of academia, but he was like, this is a dude. I was like, dude, this is Chichen Itza in the Yucatan Peninsula in the tropics, bro. Basically, the tropics and the rainforest. Like, no, he said it's a wool skull cap with feathers in it. I said, man, listen here, brother. If you think that's a wool, who wears a wool skull cap in hot ass Mexico, bro? Like,
Yeah. It's
I was like, dude, y'all are something else. Let me pull that one back up. This is always like, dude, why would the glyph in the colonial context be a black person and the same word and the same color being used on Quetzalcoatl and all of the other principal deities of the Mexica? It just
look at the
it
bottom. Look at the bottom. Added analysis. Black people could be brought to the Americas directly from Africa. Brought. See, the more you look into this stuff, bro, it looks like white people were late to the party, and sure as they do all the time, they get late to the party, and then they just make themselves the party. They make themselves the center, the story. But it's like, whereas everybody was doing things that is extraordinary, but we weren't writing about it. People were planting their flags here. "Oh, it's a nice tropical place to set up home, set up a few homesteads here." White people come along. Oh, I have now discovered the land for the queen of this, that, and the other, and then they start writing all of this down. Whereas this is the thing that I think a lot of people didn't understand and didn't take seriously early on. That if you're the first person to write it down, I can imagine the indigenous peoples looking at these Europeans writing furiously that they whatever they're writing their records, and the indigenous people not taking that seriously. If they'd have known what these people were writing down, and the fact that what they were writing down was warfare, was actual warfare, rewriting everything. If they'd have known that, stuff would have kicked off a bit, sooner. But I think people don't take this serious at the beginning. That, like, look what I'm saying to you guys about what's happening in Africa right now. What's happening in Africa right now is exactly what has happened before. That's exactly what's happened before. That's why we have to be passionate about it and not let this narrative about GAZA overtake what's happening to us. Because what's happening to us was happening before. Um, Congo was suggested as a place for um, the synagogue of Satan people, the little cat people, to settle in. Was it Congo or was it
Uganda.
Rwanda? Uganda,
Uganda,
that was
I
it.
believe. Yeah.
So it could have been our place. It could have been our place, and they're still doing, actually. There's plans to resettle these Palestinians in places in the East Africa area, their region there. And that looks all nice and innocuous now. Like, we got to help these people out. But
Mm-hmm.
again, what will happen invariably very soon is that we will now be left holding an empty bag. We'll be left having to defend the fact that, no, this is our home. You're not equal to us on this land in terms of your indigeneity. Imagine Indians and and everywhere. I put it this way: everywhere black people go, they're told to go back home. But we go back home and we have on our own soil, right? Home, whereas home is actually the whole planet, really, for us. Okay, as we've seen tonight. But let's say we take them at their word and we go back home. Even that. quote unquote home. We have to contest Indians in Uganda and white Dutch folk in South Africa saying, well, this is just as much home as for us as it is you. And it's like, dude, like, no, it's not. No, it's actually not. You can't do that. You can't just do that, especially to a people who are constantly maligned anywhere else they're found outside of this content, constantly maligned as not having done this and needed to go back to where they came from. You can't now be telling us on our home turf that you was this and you was the real Africans, and it's just, but it's happening right now. It's happening
Mhm.
right now. You have this Azawad group in Mali claiming to be put down and claiming to be we was Malians, whereas then they're descendants of slaves. Go and read the accounts. They were brought in. Mansa Musa let loads of them settle, thinking he was doing a good thing, and successive bands came in and they entrenched themselves to the extent that some of these groups owned black slaves on black soil. Mansa Musa didn't think anything about it. The Song guys didn't think anything. They just thought, well, real equality. So they're one of us, so they can own people that look like us too. We're the only ones that are this hospitable. But
Mm.
it's always used against us. It's always used against us. Meanwhile, where then the narrative is changed to make us everywhere else the bad people, the robbers, the killers, the murderers. It's upside down. And do you know what? I'm sick of it. I'm kind of sick of pretending like it doesn't exist. I'm kind of sick of pretending um it's a level playing field. It's disgusting, and I'm just worn out by it. It's really nasty. This what you've seen tonight is just like a smattering. You've got something up, but can I quickly ask you, bro, about
Yeah.
the Garifuna?
Hmm.
Do you know anything about the Garifuna? And
Know a lot
before I
about the Marijuana.
and before I even go into the Garifuna, how did you come across? How did you're like an encyclopedia on this stuff? So how? Okay, take a detour on that. Explain how did you come to know so much about this?
So I one of the things that I've always just been blessed, I got a talent for, is just recognizing patterns and cross referencing and just using common sense, really, bro. And once you start to, I think anybody who's Black American, whose ancestors were here, Civil War or before, that's kind of how I define Black American. Today it's a joke, but they say, oh, the grandma's talking about the Cherokee ancestry and all of this. Cherokee was just a term. It was just a generalized term that was thrown around, um, just a generic term, to for the sake of conversation. But most Black Americans will tell you that, hey, we're descended from Indians. Nowadays, because of the whole pretendian Wabo debate, people look at it and say, oh, well, they just don't want to be African. And what's funny is that most of the people who come into the knowledge and agree with the things that I'm saying, we came into knowledge. We know everything about Africa too. African brothers here, in Dallas, they always say, bro, you know more about Nigeria than I do. You need to be over there with Dangote and Adenuga and all them brothers. And so it's not a hate for Africa at all, but it's just looking at for just a real quick, since we're detouring like that, I say this all the time. Um, there's only one, how do you say it? Goodness gracious, how do you say it? There's only one, there's only one Black, let me just look it up. Damn, what's the name of it? Oh, yeah. There's only one song in the history that made the Billboard charts using a Native American language. Now, this is in Mexico, this is the North, but it's all related. And it was written by Black people and written by a Black man in the 50s and popularized by a Black American girl group from the 60s called the Dixie Cups. And the original song is called Giacomo, and the song in the 60s was Iko Iko. So you hear Yo Flag Boy and My Flag Boy sitting
Yeah.
by the fire. the language that they're speaking, people have tried to say it was Ghanaian, people tried to say it was this, that, the other, but it was called Mobilian jargon or the Mobilian trade language. Black people, because of our history here in North America, people always say, well, what tribe are you? You're not, that's why they're always trying to say, tribalness or Indianness is related to being in a recognized tribe and an enrolled member, when it's not, because the majority of the tribes that the Europeans came into first contact with only exist in the histories. They don't exist as political groups anymore. And those are the people we're descended from. So when I look back at, my earliest ancestry on record, he was a man named Pompey Mahering. He was called a Negro, but the Mahering is a name, that's an Indian tribe in North Carolina. So they gave us those. Mingo, we can look it up since I'm right here. The surname Mingo is a common Black American name. What, bro? Trill Black, bro. Are you looking at what I'm looking at, man?
I'm looking at what you're looking at, and
I
I
thought,
know.
I was about to say that was the coat of arms for the Negri family. That what's the other brother on
Kapruki.
YouTube? Yeah, Kapruki. He's another thorough one. I thought that's what that was, but it's not. Now they say Mingo. They say you see what it's saying. It comes from Domingo, this, that, and the other, right? But that's a common Black American name, right? Now,
Mandingo.
Mingo, Mingo, Mingo. Mingo.
No, I was just thinking that's where you were gonna go with
Oh,
that.
no,
But
no, no.
sorry.
Now you have the people, they call them the Susquehanna, but they call them the Minqua or the Black Minqua, which became the Mingo people. And then that became a surname that only Black people have, just like the surname Washington. You'll never find a white person with the surname Washington. You'll never find it. You'll only find it among Black people. But yet the first president of the United States,
like the boxer Gerald Washington.
You'll only ever find it. You can look it up. Washington. The only other white person you're gonna ever find named Washington is George Washington, and there's a reason for that. It's just like, think about it. George Washington took the name Washington, and now only Black people have that name. But at that time in Virginia, even up till today, one of the main ways that white people were able to establish a foothold in Virginia was owning land. And George Washington became the president because he was a member of the House of Burgesses, which was the aristocracy of Virginia. And he owned all the land. So of course he's going to be the first president, but he took the name of an indigenous people. And so now you can only find him as the white person with that name. They try to say Wessington and England or something like that, but the Mingo is another, like, I'm just trying to show you how the stuff will jump off at the page. And I'm just the type of dude who I got a really open mind. So when I see it, it just pops up. But the Black Minqua were the Susquehanna people who were enslaved, shipped south, and their lands became a military outpost for the white settlers. And that's also where you find the Carlisle Indian School. I won't get into that, but the Carlisle Indian School is one of the main schools, there are of many, that were teaching these Asiatic people how to be Indian, how to, like, giving them a cultural reference, giving them a platform. It's just a deep history, but that's why, because it's littered throughout the society. I mean, Black people, we're the only ones. The Native Americans cannot cook. They cannot cook their own products or crops that they say that their ancestors, their ancestors were cultivating. And the three sisters, the bean, squash, and corn. Black folks, my grandma and them, they'll turn it. All three of them, they'll give you 100 dishes. The Indians, the people we call Indians, they can't do anything with them. They're like, when you ask somebody who says, the Native Americans, what is y'all's food culture? What's your gastronomy? Because if you have a culture, you have to have a gastronomy. This is what they are. It's like some weird ass beef jerky shit. The only type of shit you're gonna eat when you're coming through ice and going on a long trip. So you get what I'm saying? The truth is in everything. The truth, it tells you, you just have to listen. So this is their food. Has nothing to do with the cult of the crops that a sedentary people, like the southeastern Indians, would have
bro,
been fucking with. What is that, bro? It looks
bro,
diseased.
bro, bro. Let's not, because people will watch this back and they're looking for excuses to say we're being disrespectful. But let's
Come
let's
on,
leave that.
man.
let's, let's
Hey,
leave
no,
that.
you're right. You're right. It's not. It's not. I apologize. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
the
yeah.
truth. This is the type of food. It's because they also say fry bread, which is another Native American staple. They always say, "Hey, this is our food culture," but at the same time, they'll tell you, "Oh, we didn't start making fry bread until we started getting, war rations from the U.S. Army." So, do you get what I'm saying? There's just
Yeah,
nothing. eh,
yeah. And I want to just co-sign something you said earlier about the Mingo. That's man. This guys, we're gonna have to close this down soon because we could end up, if we carried on this way. I'm not gonna sleep today, so we're gonna have to carry this on. But I do want to say this: I looked up Mingo. I just typed one word, Mingo, and the first Wikipedia entry that came up on my Google return was the Mingo people are a Iroquoian group of Native Americans, primarily Seneca. And I draw your attention to Senegal, Senegal, Africa, West Africa there. But straight away, that's the first thing that came up. Now, why that's important to me is the first entry that the AI, the stupid AI, tried to the route the AI tried to direct us on your end, when you, as you presented on screen, was, well, this is related to Dominicus. It's a Latin this, that, and the other. But this article on Wikipedia isn't saying anything about Mingo being linked to Dominicus or anything like that. It's saying they were just a group of Native Americans. Um, there's too many. What I'm trying to get at is
It's
there's
too.
too
It's too
many,
much stuff for it
too
not to
many.
be true.
Yeah, there's too many loose ends, and when you have this, it kind of almost always points to the fact that you can't cover up. You can't cover up all of it. You can't. It's like playing whack-a-mole. You whack one bit down, and I think that's the same way that I came to the truth on, came to understanding the truth about what's done with Black history on the other side of the Atlantic, is that you might say, if you're a fair-minded observer, you might say, like I did at the beginning, okay, that tallies and that makes sense. Maybe the Afrocentric talking about, but then you find another loose end and you think, oh, hang on, what about that? What about that? What about that? What about that? And then you start thinking, right now, I'm sorry, I'm just gonna go off the beaten path now and just see what's going on there. And then, sure as day follows night, you start to put these things together and you think, oh, so it's not just that you're all lying, it's that you even knew this once upon a time. You wrote books about it yourselves once upon a time. And now it's supposedly pseudo history. But you guys, I'm going back, and the records are showing me you lot were saying this, you lot were doing the work yourselves in the beginning. And it's the same here. It's the same here. It looks like you dig not even that deep and you find the truth just keeps coming, just keeps coming back to you. That's why I believe they had to burn down so many libraries. They did it in Africa as well. People think the West Africans didn't have a culture of writing. We had a culture of writing in different scripts, many different scripts. In Sibidi, Ajami, was a sort of derivative of Arabic. All this to say, guys, Black history is bigger than we know. Black history is bigger than we know.
Yeah,
Um, I want to pick this up next time with the Garafunas, if that's possible.
yeah, definitely.
Um, because the narrative around them is that they are um Afro Amerindian or something like
I
that.
got. I encourage everyone, if you're interested in the Garifuna for next time, look into the Garifuna Heritage Foundation. It's a sister. She's coming out. She's letting you know what the real histories are. There are some Garifuna who will argue black people, black Americans to death, us pretendians or wabos, that we're just African, and it's just I think sometimes, and I think we can all relate to this. Like sometimes black people, when we get categorized, and then one group of black people is seen as being different from the group. Sometimes that kind of affects their outlook, and so they'll be fighting people that look like them. So that's what's really going on among the guys. Not all the Garifuna, because there are a lot of them who understand it. I think it has more to do with what country and whether they grew up here in the United States or not. But the Garifuna Heritage Foundation, the sister, she's letting you know they're talking about the same things we're talking about. About the slave ship myth, the wrecked slave ship myth, this myth of the red and the black Carib. You should definitely get into it. The Garifuna are very interesting in that context. But and I want to land my plane because we were talking about these guys, and this is the last point
Yeah.
I'll make. The Mingo were Iroquoian name, people. Now there are white people who debate the name Iroquois because of the qua on the end of it, right? And they say that's not an indigenous this, that's not this. I think it is, but there was even a white lady, and I won't bring it up because we have to keep going. She posited that the qua suffix is related to the qua in Africa, so to the qua languages. It's something I'm still trying to dig into, but anybody who played football growing up here in the United States, you'll know the name Mohamed Massaquoi. He was a receiver for University of Georgia. He went to school with Chris Leak in high school, Independence in Charlotte. Then he had a short stint in the NFL, and he lost his hand in an accident. But he's Liberian, right? Now we know that the people who know anything about this subject, we know that they were not taking formerly enslaved African descended people back to their homeland. They were taking Native Americans back and calling them Black Americans. We know that because these names like Massaquoi, that's a tribe in it's an Abenaki tribe. The Abenaki are black. Benjamin Banneker was an Abenaki. The reason we call him Benjamin Banneker, because they supposedly he was descended from an African man named Banaki, but Banaki is another word, another way of saying Abenaki, which is they call the Abenaki guide, who's equivalent to Br'er Rabbit. They call him Wabos. His name is Wabos, literally. It's the great white rabbit. He's a trickster figure. But the Abenaki are related to the Mississauga or the Massaquoi, which is in that New England northern area, where we know that the English settlers were coming over and saying that these people were black. Basically, they called the Pequot Indians cannibal Negroes and shipped them down into the Caribbean. The people who got shipped to Bermuda today are black and still do the Indian stuff. The word powwow comes from the black Indians in that area that the white folks first came into contact with. And now all of Indian America talks about the powwow, and it's not even an indigenous word to them. So it's something we can always continue.
So that's what we'll do. That's what we'll do. So the next live, if you will indulge me, we'll talk about North America in more detail. We've kind of spoken about Central America.
Yeah,
Let's talk today. Let's talk about North America, but we'll first look at the Garifuna, and then maybe in the first hour or so, and then the rest of the life we might want to just look at the North America, USA,
for
because
sure.
it's easier for us to conceptualize these things perhaps in more southerly contexts, like Central America,
Mm-hmm.
South America. But guys, again, I'm fair-minded, but I've seen the records. Um I've seen the diaries. Then they weren't Afrocentrists. They were saying, yeah, there are Moors, there are black Africans, well, what to us look like black Africans in these islands, and they couldn't explain it. So that for me will be more. I'm not gonna be. I'm not gonna be told not to believe my lying eyes. I'm not gonna. I'm a full grown man. You guys are full grown adults. So enough of that. Enough of that. So that's where I start jettisoning. Um, accepted history and what I'm supposed to believe. Where does this leave us in terms of as a diaspora? Like I said at the beginning, guys, we were the first to sail, and it looks like, no, that's not a supremacist thing. It looks like the truth has been inversed by a group of very, very um, deeply insecure, a subset of an insecure subset um, of a group of peoples, and they've inverted it. Whereas actually, we were the first to do this and that, and we weren't actually bothered. We weren't bothered to write it down and write anyone else out of history and say this lot didn't do this and this lot didn't do that. We did what we did. Sometimes we were the first. Sometimes we did it at the same time, parallel with other kind of groups of peoples, and we just left it there. We did not know that somewhere along the line, people would come later and say, no, we're not happy with that. We're not happy with just taking over you and subjugating you and winning wars against you. We're now going to write you out of your achievements as well. We didn't know that that level of psychopathy existed and was going to happen. I guess that's where we were naive. That's where it leaves us, guys. That's what I think is a take home here. Not that there weren't any brothers and sisters brought over from the continent during the transatlantic slave trade, but we can walk and chew gum at the same time. Two things can be true at the same time, guys. And I think these two things are true at the same time. We explored, we set up colonies here and there and everywhere, and we were also victimized in large swathes as well. I don't know what quota is what, how many, um, whether I'm trending towards believing now that there were more of us that were already here than that were brought over. I'm trending towards that. But anyway, that's the summarize. That's the summarize. Um, RJ, I see you in the chat. I see everybody who's been. Thank you, Macy Graham. She says, with her $2 super chat. We have to acknowledge our heritage. Thank you very much for that, Macy. I co-sign that. I agree with you. All our heritage, wherever it comes from. So yeah, bro, that's where I like to take off next time. Unless you
Sure.
want to add anything, I thank you so much. This has been amazing. Go on, bro.
It's all good. No, hey, I appreciate it. I'll be ready next time. I'll do my digging like I always do in between the normalities of life, if you will. I'll leave it on this. Mali Nalco was the place where the temple for those eagle warriors, the Kwashikwe, that's where it was located. And Mali Nalco literally means Mali on the other side of the water. Mali, and then Nalca or Nalco, the suffix means on the other side or the other side of the water. So wow. Just we'll talk about it.
Wow. Okay, we'll start there. We'll start there. I'll do a quick recap on this live before our next live, bro, and we'll start there. That's a mind blower in itself. We'll start there. Mali Nalco. Remember that, chat. Costa Compton. It's been myself and El Akata Uno. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me. Thank
Y'all be
you.
blessed, brothers.
Take care. Peace.